If you can, as they say, put 6 in the snot locker, that's going to dampen their enthusiasm, probably terminally. Hi there, and welcome to the Guns Podcast US. Thanks for joining us here on one of the world's biggest gun talk programs as we chat with interesting folks and interesting topics about the world of shooting. I like to say we're kind of the Mickey Mouse Club for adults who like firearms. I'm your host, Brent, and we've got a great program today. Of course, this is the Guns Podcast US, brought to you by Guns Magazine and sponsored by our great friends at Ruger.
Looking for a firearm that's rugged, reliable, and built in America? Ruger Firearms has been trusted by shooters for generations, offering everything from hunting rifles to everyday carry handguns. Whether you're on the range, in the field, or protecting your home, Ruger delivers durability and performance you can count on. Discover the full lineup, explore new releases, and see why Ruger continues to set the standard. Visit Ruger.com today.
Well, joining me today, of course, is Roy Huntington. Good morning, Roy.
I'm still stuck at Mickey Mouse Club, so and I can't get that out of my brain. MICKEYMOUSE. Yeah.
Well, before we get started on our topic today, I got to say you've got the new lights in back. It looks kind of, if you're watching on YouTube, looks kind of Halloween-y. That's kind of cool.
What the heck? The wonders of Amazon.com.
Exactly. Well, today we're going to talk about something I realized we've got a big hole in our content lineup, and that is the venerable 410 shotgun. I don't think, to my knowledge, we have ever discussed it other than just a passing mention. And I'm going to grab I had to grab a visual aid here. And if you're watching on YouTube, this is a Taurus Judge Defender. This mean-looking bad boy is a 410/45 Colt shot pistol gun revolver-y kind of thing. And I got to admit, we'll talk about it in a bit, but it's a strange-looking critter. But really, Roy, I think the big thing about the 410 is, number one, I think we've all shot it back in the day when we were kids, and that was our gateway drug to shotgunning, and then it kind of went away. And now with new ammo, things have changed considerably. So maybe we've hit a new hotness in the gun writing business, and we'll be the first to suddenly discover the 410. So it's a like I said, a very afterthought almost in the shotgunning world. But your general thoughts on the 410?
Well, I think it's like revolvers, because people say, oh, look, revolvers are coming back. And it's like, well, actually, they never went away, right?
Right.
And I've been a 410 shooter my entire life, and I know lots of 410 shooters. And so, but they tend to be a different breed. They're not tactical guys. They're not, they don't even really talk about it much. They just enjoy going out and shooting this very elegant, light, slim. Like I have a CZ Quail side by side.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's skinnier than your wrist. It's the lightest, most wonderful little shotgun. And what I've learned over the years is that if you can hit, they're really effective. I mean, I go dove hunting and I use a 410, and people are funny because they say, "Oh, well, that's stupid." I use a 12 gauge Magnum or something, and then those little low flying doves come in at 25 or 30 yards, and you nail them, and they fall down, and these guys are always going, "Huh?"
Yep.
So I think it's popular.
Well, I think a big part of this story is, as I said at the top, the new ammo. And I'll tell you, starting about a year or I guess 2 ago, I was shocked and stunned when I started talking to guys that I know are big time turkey hunters, and the cutting edge of turkey hunting is the 410.
Yep.
And I'm an old turkey hunter, and 12 gauge 3-inch magnums with extra full chokes, and if you could find one, a 10 gauge super goose with a 3.5 inch. And turkey hunting was about getting set up, calling the bird in, getting ready, and then gritting your teeth and taking that shot with the shoulder howitzer. I can't even imagine. But, the first time I heard it, I thought, no way. And the more I researched it and more guys I talked to, it's like, Oh my gosh, can you imagine going turkey hunting, getting the same effective kill distance with the new tungsten stupor shot and all these miracle pellets that they're putting in these rounds, and getting the same lethal pattern, the same lethal hit at the same range as that 3.5-inch goose gun? It blew my mind, and that's, I think, probably one of the big reasons that people are suddenly sitting up and going, oh, 410, it's a thing.
It is a thing, and you're right about the ammo. When I first heard about those turkey guns, I reached out. I got one of the Savage, and it's an affordable gun. It's a price point 410
Right.
basically, but it's set up specifically for turkey hunting. It's got a little rail on the top. You can put a red dot on it if you want to. It's got pretty decent sights. But boy, if you get like the Federal turkey load, I've tested it. 25, 30 yards, you get a teacup size group. I mean, or pattern. I mean, it looks like a big bore rifle shot. And I have a friend here who's a crazy maniac turkey hunter, and he just loves it to death. And he said, you know what, about 30, 35, even 40 yards, he said, you shoots the head right off, we're done. And it is a miracle, but that translates well too. That same kind of choking system or whatnot really ramps up the performance. Well, you figure this. I think it was invented like in the late 1890. It was a British thing, I think.
But by I looked it up by Hardy, Hardy and Hardy.
Oh, okay. That's a name sounds familiar. And so it was a black powder round. And it was made like the British had something called a rook rifle, which was like a small bore single shot rifle, like 38 special kind of caliber. And they were made specifically to shoot rooks, which are the blackbirds, which invaded their gardens and stuff. So that's, I think, why they brought out the 410, because people wanted a little shotgun like that. And so, and then it just grew over the years, and I think it was like a 2 or 2.25 inch initially. Now they're 2.5 and 3 inch. I mean, I've got a Taurus Judge, and I have old Remington 1148 semi-auto, from the probably 50s or 60s, and it's 410, and they're such a delight to shoot. I mean, it's just like ting, ping, 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 the little actions going here. It's really cute. My two most used guns here on the place, which you've been here, you've seen it, you see what kind of land we have and whatnot, is that Savage 410 single shot and an old rusty Savage magazine fed 22 rifle, both of which I keep in the Easy Go. And they're almost in constant use. I mean, as a matter of fact, I can't remember the last time I fired a 12 gauge shotgun. I mean, years.
Well, it's great. Growing up, a lot of guys used it for squirrel, and I didn't care for that because I hate cracking my tooth on a pellet. But there's no denying, and talking to the older guys, it was a matter of with a 410, if you get close enough to squirrel, you got it. Whereas a rifle, you probably do, but yet there was a larger variable there. With a 410, whether you barked them, put them in the body or whatever, you got them. And, that was a day when potting game wasn't a matter of so much enjoyment. It was dinner. So I think that's the reason a lot of, in my memory, grandpas, uncles, great granddads had the 410, and that was the gun they used a lot. It killed pests around the farm. It killed possums and raccoons and took squirrels in the fall. And it was just truly the all-round shotgun, much more so than the 12.
Oh, I agree. And, if you load it with number 4 or number 6 shot, it actually penetrates pretty well. I mean, I've shot raccoons here with number 4 shot, and it kills them dead as a rock right there. Well, remember, they're a bit of an unsung hero, too, because Savage made the 24C, I think it was. It was 410 and 22 Magnum. And they did it in 22 long rifle, too. But I thought, well, that's like the perfect thing. For hunting, spare survival kind of rifle, because you could shoot. You have this nice little shotgun, like you say, if you see a squirrel, you're going to have dinner.
Yeah.
And then the 22 Magnum could, if you were in survival mode, that would take up to deer size animal if you had to, you know. So, and then the Air Force had
the M6 Scout. I was going to bring that up.
Yeah,
and
you
it
bet.
was a 22 Hornet over
Right.
Under 410. So
Right.
that's a pretty cool combo.
Yeah, and I really don't know why we don't have more of that. I think there is a little bit. I think Chiappa makes a little
Yeah.
funny folding stock, gun like that. So, but I think like the Judge, when it first came out, I remember thinking, well, I don't really understand that,
Yeah.
And then back in the day, I got my first Judge, and then I started working with it, and I realized, wow, this is actually really cool. I have one I keep in my tractor, and so, it's got 3 410 shotgun shells up first, and then 2 45 Colt cowboy loads, and that's for chasing the coyote out in the pasture, kind of. But they're just so versatile. I think the only thing that messes things up is the rifling.
Yeah.
Because if you have a shorter barrel than 18 inches, it still has to be rifled, even though it's quote a shotgun.
Yeah.
So, but I think there are some people who are experimenting a little bit with that right now, and because I did a lot of research, and the ATF says it just has to be rifled.
Mm-hmm.
They don't give any specifications whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I know of some testing that's been done where the rifling is like 1.5 thou or 2 thou.
Yeah.
And you can see the rifling if you look down the bore. There it is. Yeah. It still engages a projectile, like a 22 or whatever you're shooting through it. But boy, the difference it makes in shot pattern is tremendous.
Yeah.
Suddenly you actually get that, shot pattern.
Well, I think, and maybe I'm crazy, or maybe we talked about it, or I dreamed this up, but I think there's also somebody that it doesn't say it has to be rifled the full length of the barrel. So they were trying to get a discussion of whether that would meet the law or not. But interesting stuff. Oh, go ahead.
Well, the Brits used to do that, and it was called a paradox rifling, I think it was. And that is they rifled like if you had a 10-inch barrel or something, say 10-inch, pistol barrel, they would rifle the last inch of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so theoretically, then, if you shot a ball, it would go and it would engage that rifling and give it a little bit of spin, so it would be accurate. But that little bit of rifling also didn't really mess up the shot charge very much.
Yeah.
And Hamilton Bowen loves that idea, and he's built a few paradox revolvers.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Which, of course, Hamilton would.
Of course. Well, the Judge, and I'm grabbing my Judge Defender here. I got to admit, I have never really been a fan. I'm not saying I'm not a fan. I'm saying I don't get it. And I'll tell you, Roy, one place where I see these things all the time is number one among Tennessee and Southeast hog guides. They all carry a Judge as their emergency gun. And I also tend to see them out west. Houndsmen carry them a lot, and differing reasons. And I've never quite, I'm always thinking, if you're going to carry that, why not just carry a pistol? Or, a revolver, because that's what it is. But, because they do like you do, they'll do, a 3 and 3 or 4 and 2 shot shell, and then 45 Colt. And I've heard different reasons that, well, with a charging hog, it's usually such a close range, in your face kind of thing, that a couple of loads of birdshot might turn the hog away from you, or at least dampen his enthusiasm, which I'm thinking, well, so would a bullet. With the hound guys, it's kind of the same thing. You're less likely to kill your hound in a tussle with a bear or a lion or whatever. And I don't know, they do it every day. So, I've always been intrigued, but they almost all have got one on their hip, and I found that pretty interesting.
Well, I did some experimenting with the Judge, and I used that Winchester. It's like a buck and ball load or something they used to call it,
Yeah.
And so it's got these flat copper discs.
Yeah.
It's got 4 or 5 of them in it, I guess, and And you know what? It actually works pretty darn good. I've seen them shot into Joe. You don't get a huge amount of penetration, but you get enough that whoever was trying to attack you would lose interest for sure. And I think to me that goes back to the, people say, oh, I bought a Judge because I don't want to really kill somebody if I have a defensive shooting. And then, there's the side of the house that says, well, you're going to get yourself killed because that's not going to stop them. But on the other side of the house is, if you shoot somebody anywhere, with a 410 load from a toe-to-toe distance or across the room, they're not going to want to continue this conversation.
Yeah, that's going to get their attention.
Yeah,
and I will say that Judge Defender, I forget, it's got, I don't remember, a 10-inch barrel, 11-inch barrel. I didn't understand it, and I'll tell you, one of the Guns Magazine writers, Frank Jardim, right after it came out, pitched me a story and said, hey, you want to do a piece on this? And I'm like, yeah, but I'll be honest with you, I haven't figured out what the point is. And I said, educate me. And he had a great use case and did a story on it, and we ran it in Guns Magazine. For his diminutive wife, I believe she's Filipino. My apologies if I don't remember her background, but she's a very small lady. And he said he got that because she can handle that 410 as a home defense round. Is it as good as a 3.5-inch, 10 gauge Magnum? Well, no, but she couldn't shoot that, and she'd have trouble even with a 20 gauge. But and he said his adult child who lives at home, same thing, for a gun that you can handle the recoil of. It's got a simple manual of arms. And I thought, that's not a bad idea. Again, is it the ultimate man stopper? Probably not. But as you said, Roy, you get hit with a load of anything out of a 410 at across the room distance, that's going to dampen your enthusiasm a whole big bunch.
It's really true. The Judge, it seems like Taurus made it was like a shotgun. Only it was a 5-shot. It was like a Judge, but with a 18-inch barrel.
Right.
You remember that? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had one of those, and I actually shot it a little bit, but unfortunately, it just hopelessly didn't work because the rifling messed everything up. Yeah. And because they wanted you to be able to shoot 45 Colt in it, and so of course that you had to have a little bit of rifling. Although in retrospect, I think that whole thing about, we'll give it rifling, but have it be 1.5 thou deep.
Yeah.
And suddenly a concept like that would actually work really well. I mean, I think in a perfect world, I would love to see like a Judge. I have one in the tractor. They made a polymer Judge. It's got a little short barrel, 2.5 inches or something. It's real lightweight. And if that had that shallow rifling, well, now suddenly that is a much more effective little handheld shotgun, And, I mean, suddenly now you could shoot a rabbit at 20 yards with it, with a 410, and it would actually work. But I think the only downside to 410 now is ammunition is just so expensive. And I think it's a collision of that popularity versus volume of manufacturing. And so, they crank out 12 gauge and 20 gauge game and field loads and target loads and, by the billions. And then they do small runs of 410, usually seasonally. I know I was in Academy or someplace not too long ago, and a box of 410 7.5 shot game load was $22.
Oh, my.
I know.
Wow.
And
that's
because when I was young, I remember it was kind of the same price as other shotgun shells, for whatever reason, which is, I think, one of the reasons why 75 years ago, our grandfathers liked single shot 410s, because a single shot H&R 410 rifle was, I don't know, $20, and you buy a box of 410 shotgun shells for $2. Well, you're good to go now.
Yeah.
But now it's like, whew.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in fairness to the manufacturers, especially if you're talking some of the tungsten loads and all that, it's going to be more expensive. The raw materials are more expensive, but I do think they're doing okay. Their markup is enough to cover those costs. But
I think so. Well, I noticed that the fancy turkey loads in 12 gauge and 20 gauge and 28 gauge, I mean, they're also $28 a box. I mean, I've seen these 5-shot turkey load boxes, from the various manufacturing companies, and and they're like $30.
Yeah.
Which the turkey guys don't care, because I guess if it costs you $5 to get your turkey, you don't really mind that.
I was going to say I've paid stupid amounts of money for high tech, 12 gauge, and same with deer hunters. Special slugs with secret sauce and special fins and all that stuff. But those kind of things are, if you take 2 shots, you've not really fulfilled that, marksman's creed. So yeah, 5 shots should last you all season. But
well, I was going to make a double rifle, and for fun, a small bore double rifle. And
only
so
Roy does that. I'm going to build a double rifle for fun.
I was looking around trying to decide what to do, and I thought, well, you know what? I'm just going to get an inexpensive 410 shotgun, like a Stoger, right? Side-by-side shotgun. You can get these inserts that you can shoot in 410, I can't remember now what it is you can shoot, but there is a subcaliber insert, 3220 or something like that. But I thought, well, I don't need to do that, because I'll just shoot slugs, 410 slugs.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that'll probably work, right?
Yeah.
So I got the slugs, and even though it's unrifled, and I did some targeting, and you could probably hit a rabbit at 25 or 30 yards with it, and or a charging gray squirrel, with your double rifle.
I was going to say that's not your dangerous game double.
No. But then I was looking at it, and it was they're like 75 grains or 80 grains, so it's like a 32 automatic,
Yeah.
380 basically. Well, it's 0.41, a little less than that. And at like about 1,100 feet per second. And so, okay, I wouldn't want to be hit by a, 80 grain hunk of lead at 1,000 feet per second. But that just wasn't the spirit of a double rifle for me, especially because it was a smooth bore,
Wow, that's funny.
I know.
They do make some defensive loads now for the 410. I think Federal does, and Fiocchi maybe, and some others. Frankly, I should have done my research. I'm not sure exactly what they do, but it's out there. But again, I keep prefacing with that disclaimer that we're not recommending the 410, but it's as I often say, it's better than a stick or a rock, especially in home defense situations where a long shot's probably 20 feet. So
yeah,
virtually anything at that distance is going to get their attention. And if you've got a couple, like with the Judge and all that, you've got 6. So hopefully if you can, as they say, put 6 in the snot locker, that's going to dampen their enthusiasm, probably terminally.
Well, I think I agree with you. If you think it's a good idea, then you should buy one and use it. You'll have it. But I think if you're a shotgun hunter and you do upland, quail, it's a little light for pheasant, unless you're really in tight. But, quail and those kind of things, dove hunting, you should really put your 12 gauge down and buy yourself an affordable 410 side by side, and then go shoot some skeet and learn how to shoot it. I had an inexpensive side by side 410, like one of those Stogers or something. Oh, this was probably 25, 30 years ago. And we used to shoot skeet every Friday, and they all use 12 gauge and 20 gauge fancy skeet, all set up with fancy stocks and all that kind of stuff. And I just used the Stoger 410. And I would just go to, the equivalent of Walmart in those days and buy whatever cheap number 8 shot there was. And, after a little while, I was getting to where I was shooting 20, 21, 22, pretty regularly. And it caused them, it took a while to learn. You lead a little more, you follow through a little better. But it was such a delight because it just goes, okay, poof, little light recoil, and then the little dust cloud out there, and you did it with a 410. It's really satisfying. I mean, as a matter of fact, the other guys ended up buying 410s, and then we would have 410 Fridays,
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's though it ruined me because I got to shoot some other like really high quality 410s, and it was like,
Yeah.
oh, these aren't Stogers,
Yeah. Well, I think you made a good point. Also, is there is virtually no used market for the 410s. So if you go and say .com, the prices are going to be pretty inexpensive. And I hope I didn't just jinx us with our corporate overlords at this channel, but because we always get in trouble when we say that word. In fact, Roy, remind me, I'm going to bleep that out so that their computers. But if you go to one of those online sites where they offer things, you can probably find a pretty nice gun for significantly less money. So,
well, interestingly enough, Brent, because I'm a weirdo and I look at things like that, even the single shot handy rifles are holding their value right now.
Are they really?
Yeah, I mean, like a single shot clean 410 or New England Firearms, which is basically the same gun. I mean, $450, $500 anymore.
No,
yeah,
really?
It's really amazing. Yeah, and
wow.
so a good quality 410, like my little 1148 Remington I have, it's nice and clean, but I could probably put $800 on that, and some guy would buy it. An old guy that looks like me, right?
Yeah.
I know, but there are affordable.
And stunned.
Yeah, well, there are affordable 410s out there. Look at the offerings from who was it? Chiappa, and some of the other ones. But I think that if you're not doing it, you need to seriously look at it. And don't let the ammunition cost phase you, because I have a MEC loader.
Yeah.
It's a little 4 or 5 position loader. You pull handle down and, it does that. You buy a pound a shot, and that is a lot of 410 shot shells. I mean, I don't think I've used the pound a shot that I started loading with 20 years ago.
No kidding.
And a pound of powder, you buy a bag of wads, some primers, and you have enough 410 shooting now for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
And they're so fun to load, and they're easy to load. And that's really all I ever shoot anymore. About once every 2 or 3 years, I'll set up the mech and clamp it to my bench and load for about an hour and put them in Ziploc baggies, and then I'm good to go for another couple years.
Very cool. Well, this talk has got me the urge. I need to go trap shooting with the 410. That's a lot of big fun. So,
well, trap shooting could be a challenge. I know people do it, but skeet shooting is a little easier. Yeah.
Yeah, I've just always been a trap fanatic. I like that, and it's funny. It's the opposite for me, and it's probably because of poor form. But I generally embarrass myself on skeet, but I can do fairly well on trap. So,
well, I have shot trap with a 410, and the secret is you have to get on it right now.
Exactly. Maybe
there's no like. Watching it sail for a minute and getting a little bit of lead and then pulling through, nope. I mean, it's as soon as it clears the house.
I tend to be a snap shooter, which I guess that's not a bad thing in shotgun. Because I have had professional instruction, but with skeet, you're supposed to track a little bit more. And as soon as I see a bird, I want to shoot it with skeet. With trap, as soon as I see it, I'm on it, and I for whatever reason I tend to do better on that. So crazy.
It is great fun. So anyway, I think we've talked about the mysterious, wonderful, underrated, marvelous, historically significant 410.
Yep.
And I think these people, if you need to lower your nose, don't put your nose up at it. Because if you don't have any personal experience with it, then I think you need to reserve judgment till you get out there and actually have some fun with one.
Yep.
And as you said earlier, it is the best shotgun to teach a kid or a new shooter about shotguns.
Yep. Exactly. Well, I'll make a prediction that this is a safe bet. It's not even a prediction at all. Is soon we'll see in the gun press 410 rediscovered.
I know.
Okay, just like revolvers, right? So, but it hasn't been a hotness in a while, and like I said, I think the cutting edge guys, being the turkey hunters, and some of the upland hunters are rediscovering the versatility of it with the new ammo. So I'm sure we'll have a big, coming out party at the SHOT Show this year or next about, somebody's unveiling 15 new 410 SKUs. So
it's true. If it all wasn't just so expensive anymore, if somebody could come out with call it like a medium quality side by side 410, not the real inexpensive ones like they used to have Bakhail, the Russian ones and stuff like that. I think that's what my Skeet 410 was, and or the like really nice fancy either Italian or French ones, Spanish ones, or like the CZs, because even the CZs, I mean, they got to be $1,200 or $1,500 now, But boy, if you could get something in that sort of $500 to $800 range that was a nice looking shotgun that felt good, that could really help to drive a resurgence,
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. Well, good stuff. I appreciate you talking to us about the 410. And, that's what's funny, Roy. We always end up agreeing because you and I both just like guns. And I think that's a message that we've always tried to promote, but we never necessarily say it that way. But guns, as I do say, guns and fun are just one letter apart. And, if you don't care for the 410, that's fine. But maybe try one out and base your decision on personal experience instead of what you read on some forum or heard somebody overheard somebody at the range. So 410, catch it. So, of course, this is gunspodcast.us, brought to you by Guns Magazine and sponsored by our good friends at Ruger.
Whether you're on the range, in the field, or protecting your home, Ruger delivers durability and performance you can count on. Discover the full lineup, explore new releases, and see why Ruger continues to set the standard. Visit Ruger.com today.
Well, again, thanks to Ruger. And Roy, you've written a pretty darn good book, and it literally sits next to my chair. And when I'm not watching Guns Podcast US videos or some of Roy's interesting videos, I like to browse through your book, Roy's Insider, and it's a great book. It's a collection of Roy's Insider columns, and you can get that at Amazon. Along with several of our other titles, special interest publications, John Connor's Auto Angry Shot. But for this Christmas, buy yourself a gift and every shooter that you know, Roy's Insider. So any comments on that book, Roy? It's been out now about a year.
No, I appreciate that. I'm getting a lot of nice feedback from people, and they seem to be selling, and people say they like it because it's bite size, so you can just read one or two little pieces. And
yeah,
I have to say it's been really satisfying to see them all assembled in one spot, and by the warm embracing that these shooters have had. So thank you all. Yeah,
very cool. Well, it's getting to be that season, so buy somebody Roy's Insider book. Get it at Amazon. Well, that's it for this episode of the Guns Podcast US, brought to you by Guns Magazine and sponsored by Ruger. Of course, I'm your host, Brent Weed, along with my unofficial co-host, Roy Huntington, reminding you yet again, now get out there and get shooting.